Hey, Scott, Sambucci here, Chief Sales Geek at Sales Qualia. I had a LinkedIn Live planned for today. I had this snazzy sales framework I was going to talk to you about the last couple of days in particular, as we've been working with clients and I've been communicating here on LinkedIn. One of the biggest challenges that a lot of founders, a lot of companies are feeling right now is like in the sales pipeline, you get stuck with what we call middle of the funnel sales opportunities. And a lot of times those opportunities get stuck because you're dealing with what we call buyer vampires. These are people that I joke, but very real case that they kind of suck the life out of you. And so what I was going to do today was sketch out a whole framework about how to deal with buyer vampires. And instead of doing that, um, I want to talk about something else that I've just been sensing over the last couple weeks that I think you might be feeling yourself, and maybe not everybody is feeling this, and maybe it's just some people are feeling it, but it certainly seems real. It certainly feels real, even if it's not true. And so, if you want to get some help with the buyer vampires, really easy way to do it. We have a sales kit that we just put together this week called the Buyer Vampire Sales Kit. You can just go to salesqualia.com/vampires, salesqualia.com/vampires, and that's where you can download the sales kit there. You have a sales kit to identify, it's a checklist on how to know if you're dealing with a vampire, what to do with that kind of person, and also giving you a framework that you can use, a playbook that you can use on that. So I'm going to skip the sales framework piece and I'm just going to talk to you about what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling out there and what I feel like other people are seeing and feeling. So what I'm going to do is actually sketch this out in just a minute. So I've got maybe it's on this side here. I've got my iPad all dialed up. So first, let me I was just sketching out some raw notes on this. So here's what I am hearing and seeing out there. Like we work with clients all over the world. We have clients in Europe. We have clients in obviously North America, Canada, the United States. We have clients in Australia, India, and New Zealand. We work with investors. We work with accelerator program managers. Um, a lot of people are feeling unease. They're feeling some uncertainty. They're feeling some anxiety around the general environment. And this is kind of something that maybe has been going on for more than a couple of weeks, but it seems like each week that goes by, the pressure, the unease, the uncertainty, the anxiety seems to be ratcheting up a little bit more. And what I mean by that is if we think about where have we been the last couple of years, the last couple of years have been, you know, life changing and unprecedented times that we've heard a zillion times over. Um, but the sense was like coming out of 2021, going into 2022, and again, this might not be everyone, but this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm hearing. Coming into 2021, there was a genuine optimism, a justified optimism that like this is the year. Like we've worked through the COVID times, and while the Omicron variant was still very active in the early part of the year, the sense was like, look, this variant isn't so bad compared to what we saw in the past. Vaccination rates are up, cases are down. Serious cases are way down. Kids are back in school. We're starting to figure out the work from home thing. Some companies are coming back to the office. Some are doing hybrid. I kind of got this sense like, okay, like the COVID thing, yeah, it's still there, but like we have this justified optimism that we have shifted to this new normal, and like this is the year. Like we're gonna make this happen this year. And then stuff started to happen. Major stuff started to happen. There's the war in Ukraine started in February. And that, for obvious reasons, has caught the attention of the world. And then we moved into a place with just first high gas prices. Like, oh, gas is $6 a gallon. People are like, oh, that like we're feeling the effects of this war in Ukraine, not like the people in Ukraine, but we're certainly okay, higher gas prices. And then inflation starts to spike 8% plus. And then we see the earnings reports for 2021 and now the Q1 earnings reports from big companies. Netflix is getting hammered, Facebook, lower than expected outcomes, Spotify, Alphabet, all of those companies, the biggest companies in the world are reporting like things are slowing down, right? And then you see the job cuts, the headlines from Wells Fargo and my former employer, Blend, Robinhood, Better, all of these companies are cutting back on people. We're seeing this pullback And now there's all obvious reports for like, hey, we're in for a recession. It's not even like we're in for a recession. We're probably already in the recession. Most economists would agree that we don't even know we're in the recession until we're out of it, because most recessions last on average about 11 months. And so the reason I'm sharing this with you is because again, it might not be everyone. Maybe for some of you, things are hunky-dory and hockey stick and rainbows and unicorns and all that stuff. And if it is, that's awesome. That's great. Um, but I think for a lot of people out there, at least the people that I'm talking to, there's some real anxiety about what's going on out there. And so what I wanted to do, instead of sharing the tactical sales playbook on how to deal with buyer vampires, again, you can get the sales kit at salesquality.com/vampires, plural, if you want to download the sales kit for dealing with that. Instead, what I want to do is talk about a model that I introduced way back in 2020, March of 2020. It's been almost over 2 years since I introduced this model, called the Status Quo Fallacy, that I hope will help you understand that keeping things afloat or trying to keep status quo in the current environment is not adequate and not what you need to do. And then secondly, most importantly, what I want to do is talk to you about what actions you can be taking, what you could be doing, what you should be doing, what we are advising our clients to do each and every day. And then the third thing I want to do is invite you, if you are a B2B tech founder, with our clients, we're running 2 sessions in May coming up in the next couple of weeks. And in these sessions, what we're going to do is a full diagnostic of their entire sales process from top to bottom, everything from lead gens to mid-funnel deals through to pricing, conversions, customer success, as well as on the operation side, looking at their hiring plan, their team plans, basically doing a full assessment and a reset of where every company is right now when it comes to building repeatable, scalable sales and getting more revenue in the door, and then identifying what to work on for the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, so that every one of our clients has a really clear plan of action. So we're running those sessions, and I want to invite, we've got a handful of spots that I want to keep open for non-clients, folks that are B2B tech founders that are feeling kind of what I'm sharing today. And you want to get the reset. You need to know what to do. You need to get a better plan. You need to get some more clarity, some more control, some more confidence in your sales process for yourself, for your team, for your customers, for your prospects. And so we're running this session. And if you want to learn more about it, I'll talk more about it at the end of this LinkedIn Live. But if you want to learn more, you can go to salesqualia.com/roadmap, salesqualia.com/roadmap. And it's got all the details on how you can request a spot. Again, we have limited spots available because for non-clients, because this is a client event. You're going to be working with me, with our coaches, with our team, and with our clients. These are very intimate sessions that we run. And so we have to keep the group small. We do have enough capacity to add about 10 people to that group. And so we want to make sure that if you're going to be joining that group, that you're the right fit for the group, that you're the kind of person that we can help, you're the kind of team that we can help. And so if that's the case, then we'll let you know. If for whatever reason you're not a good fit, I'll politely let you know and give you some other resources. If you are a good fit, then we'll send you the Zoom link. And again, I'll talk more about that at the end. But first, I want to talk about, number one, I want to talk about what we call the status quo fallacy. Number two, I want to talk to you about what actions you could and should and need to be taking as a startup founder, as a company leader in your business. So let me just swap my cameras. So the status quo fallacy, this is something, again, I introduced this a couple of years ago, and I think it's as appropriate now as it's ever been, simply because of this sense of unease and uncertainty. It doesn't feel like the same depth and level that we saw a couple of years ago because of the unprecedented times we were in with shutdowns. However, it doesn't make it any easier to navigate and operate and grow your business if the environment around you just is providing some pressure. It's sort of pressuring you, pressuring your team, pressuring your customers, pressuring your prospects. So the way this is what we call the status quo fallacy. Status quo fallacy. So the way that the status quo fallacy works is we know, if we look into the future, we're here today. We know in the future, 2 years ago, we knew there was going to be a future in 12 months, in 2 years, in 3 years. We didn't know what the future was going to look like, but we certainly know in the future there's going to be life, there's going to be business, there's going to be an economy. And if we think about this timeline from the future back to today, we can think of something as simple as 12 months. The reason I like to think about 12 months is because, as I mentioned earlier, most recessions, if you look at economic data over the last century, most recessions last an average of 11.2 months. So we'll just round it up to 12 months, a nice even round number. So if we think about a year from today, that's like the future state. And if today, we're feeling this sort of pressure from the external environment, right? We're feeling pressure with our customers. Our customers are feeling pressure from their customers. Your prospects are feeling it. They're feeling it from their prospects. Your team is feeling it because of higher gas prices and higher food prices. And now what was going to be a Disneyland vacation is maybe a camping trip or a staycation instead, right? Instead of moving into a bigger house, instead now that's put on hold because mortgage rates are skyrocketing and home prices are beyond control, right? All of this pressure is coming down. And so the status quo fallacy is that the tendency for most of us is to sort of say, well, I'm just going to kind of keep my head above water. I'm just going to sort of like keep myself afloat and kind of ride this thing out. Like the waves are going to come and go, and my job is to just sort of ride those waves out. The problem with that is that we aren't in control of the external environment, as we know, right? So if you think about the stuff that's pressuring you, first it was the onset of the war and all the ramifications from the war. Then, so if we say, okay, well, this war thing it's like macroeconomic, it's macro global pressure, but maybe it doesn't directly affect me other than higher gas prices. Maybe I have a team in Ukraine that's helping me out. Maybe I have a team in Russia. Maybe I have customers in Europe that are kind of obviously much closer to that, so they're feeling a little bit more pressure. But overall, you're like, okay, that's cool. I'm just going to like figure out ways to make some adjustments to the war effect, and then just keep myself afloat. Well, then we have the carry-on effects, which is increasing gas prices, and then subsequently increases in prices in general with the inflation rate as it is. And then we feel the pressure from our team because with increases in prices, there's a competitive hiring environment right now. And so just to keep the same level salary, that means we need to give an 8% salary increase for cost of living, not 1% or 2% that we may have been doing in the past. So now we're feeling salary pressure, right? And because all of this pressure that any one of us are feeling individually as a collective, that means the same kinds of people that work for you are working at your customers and they're working at your prospects. So all of your customers are feeling this pressure, this economic slowdown, these higher prices, and it keeps pushing you down. So now the fact that your customers might be looking for more favorable terms when it comes to extensions or renewals or pricing, or the prospects are looking for better deals. They want lower prices, or they're not willing to sign a 12-month contract, or maybe just in general, they're just not willing to take action with you. So what ends up happening is like every time we feel like one of these individual shocks that pressures us down, we try to figure out a way to stay afloat. But with that many waves coming in, maybe like one or two waves, we can sort of ride it out. But when there's 3 waves, 4 waves, 5 waves, and those waves become bigger and bigger and bigger, what ends up happening is that we end up forcing our way down. And we end up with this huge gap in the future over time. If we're sitting here today, right, and we say 12 months from now, because of all these pressure, we've been trying to just kind of keep ourselves afloat, even with our best efforts to stay afloat. And that's why it's called the status quo fallacy. Even with our attempts to stay afloat, what ends up going to happen, what is going to end up happening is you're going to have this huge gap between where you thought you were or where you wanted to be by staying kind of status quo and where you actually are, right? And this assumes that you're taking some kind of action. I mean, you could, of course, this is, sort of status quo as an option. I mean, another option, of course, is to do nothing, right? You could choose to do nothing at all and just ignore everything, in which case you're going to see that downward slope happen pretty fast. But at least if you're like, oh, I'm going to like kind of status quo this thing, ride it out, you're eventually going to end up at the same place down here as if you did nothing. It's just going to be a longer process to get there. And so what that leaves us with is like, well, what can we do? What should we do? And so, this is a philosophy, this is a perspective that I shared 2 years ago when I first introduced the status quo fallacy, which is what we really need to do is we need to have what we call focused growth. Okay. And so there's kind of three phases that I think about when I'm talking to clients and I'm working with startup founders. Is number one is we need to evolve. We need to make a shift. We need to look at the types of customers that we are going after, the way that we're pricing our product, the way we're positioning our product, the way we're thinking about our sales team in general, the way that we're handling our finances and our cash flows, the way that we're talking to our own customers and prospects. We need to make some evolution. We need to evolve what we're doing. And I'm going to give you really specific strategies on that in just a couple of minutes on how you need to evolve. So evolve is step one. The second thing is then figure out how do we expand. Once we have evolved the systems, the strategies, the skills that we are using out in the marketplace, the evolution gives us a little bit of a lift. Once we see that that's working, then we can start to expand on that. We can expand on the things that are working and do more of it. So it's almost like shifting to a new way. And once we've proven that the new way works, then we can start growing the new way. And if we continue to expand, then we get to a place, the third place, which is where we emerge. And you can see, obviously, the growth curve here is slow, but then moves up. So that if you take these steps to evolve immediately, you shift how you're doing things, then you expand on top of those shifts. Then what's going to happen is in that 12-month period, after this current recession is over, and even if the recession is longer, maybe it's a 16, 18-month recession, we might already be 3, 4, 5 months into it already anyway. So a year from now, if you take these small steps, these are just small steps, very small incremental steps that you can take today, this month, next month, through the summer. You start taking these small incremental steps now. The shift to get on the correct line, the growth line that you want to be on, this is the growth line, versus the survival line, which is probably not even survival, because if you're that far out and you're that far below the curve, it's going to be hard to make that gap up. If you want to be on the growth line, all you have to do is make some small shifts. And if you make those small shifts now, that becomes the basis by which you can then expand. And then the expansion becomes easier because you have the right strategies, the right systems, the right skills in place for you and your team, so that it allows you to expand faster. And that's where you can emerge out of this current situation of unease or uncertainty or potentially anxiety if you're feeling it. Now, again, I don't know if everybody's feeling this. I'm just basing my perception of this based on observations, talking with clients all across the world, and the clients telling me what they're hearing from their customers and their prospects. This is from talking with investors every week. This is from talking to program directors at accelerator programs that are out there. So this is what I'm hearing. It may not be everyone, but maybe it's you. And if you're feeling this, I just want you to know you're not alone. You're not the only person that's feeling the uneasiness, the uncertainty, the anxiety. And the way to work through this is just like we worked through it 2 years ago. Like, we have experience dealing with uncertainty and uneasiness and anxiety. It's not the same as 2 years ago, but it resembles it a lot. And it requires us to lead. It requires us to take action. It requires us to lead our team, lead our customers, lead our prospects, lead our market, lead our family, lead our partners, lead ourselves. If we take that action, if we use what we've learned over the last couple of years to be a leader and take the lead, then that's what we're going to do. That's what's going to enable us to emerge out of this better. Because if you made it through the last 2 years, you've got tons of experience with this kind of experience, right? So that's the first model. This is the status quo fallacy and why you need to take action, not just try to keep your head above water and ride it out. And the actions are small now, which will lead to expansion later, and then it will allow you to emerge out of this economic and global uncertainty ahead of where the rest of the competition is going to be. Okay, so let's talk about the second model. And again, in just a couple minutes, I'm going to share more details. But if you want some help with taking these first steps, this is why we're running our live sessions with our clients in the next couple of weeks in May. So this is where we're going to be going through our startup selling systems roadmap. This is going to be assessing exactly where every client that we work with is in terms of lead generation, filling the funnel, converting deals, managing deals through the pipeline, how they're pricing, how they're implementing, what the customer success needs to be to retain those customers, resell to them, upsell to them even in some cases. And so I want to invite you to join that session with us. We've got limited spots. So if you go to salesqualia.com/roadmap, salesqualia.com/roadmap, you can learn more details. Okay. So let's talk about this the second model that I wanted to talk through. And so if we think about kind of where we are today, there's this general feeling of anxiety, at least from what I'm seeing out there. And whenever there's a sense of anxiety, whether it's around the business or just life in general, I think what ends up happening from a human standpoint is a couple of things. One is we start to feel scattered, right? It's hard to concentrate when you're feeling anxious. You're trying to figure out what to do next. You're trying different ideas. Um, it's hard to focus in one area because there's lots of problems. You have more problems than you want to deal with every single day. And all of a sudden, you start to feel a little overwhelmed. When you're overwhelmed, it's like, where do I focus, right? It's hard to stay scattered. It's hard to focus, so you're scattered, right? The second thing that we tend to do is we tend to become defensive, right? It's a survival instinct. When things are not going well, what do we do? Like, this is what you do if like I'm training jujitsu. Like if you're getting attacked, like yeah, you try to block somebody before you can attack back. The first thing you have to do is be defensive. Now you can't be defensive forever though. If you're defensive forever, you're just giving your opponent a chance to find an opening, and then you're going to be in worse shape than if you did nothing after blocking the initial attack, right? But the natural tendency as humans is go into defensive mode, and that's normal. The third thing that we tend to do is if we're feeling overwhelmed and if we're in defense mode, then we sort of hope for something to get better. We're looking for a break. We're hoping to get lucky. We're hoping that maybe a couple of deals in the pipeline do convert. We're hoping that maybe some of the customers that haven't been so active with us, maybe we're hoping that they'll just, we don't want to shake the trees too much. We don't want to ask them why they're not using the platform or the product too much. We're kind of hoping that they'll renew anyway. We're hoping that they won't notice that we're pinging their credit card for $3,000 a month. We sort of hope for the best. So obviously, these are not what is going to get you out of this feeling of uneasiness or anxiety, right? So instead of being scattered, we need to focus. Instead of being defensive, we need to go and advance forward. And instead of hoping, what we need to do is serve and sell, right? We need to serve and sell. So let me talk about these three areas. So specifically, when you're feeling scattered and I say you need to focus, there's kind of three parts to this. The first part to this, I've got some notes here that I sketched out, so that's why I'm looking down. The first thing we need to do, of course, is focus on our team. Like if our team's not right, if our team isn't focused, then how can we portray and give a focused conversation to a customer or to our prospect or to an investor, right? So we need to focus on our team first. And that's not just talking. Yes, you need to talk to them. If you're feeling this and you're sensing that they're feeling this, don't just talk, but you need to listen. Like, tell me about what's going on with you. And it's not to say that you have to get in every personal detail. I know that there's boundaries and barriers, but you need to listen to them and understand, what are they feeling? What pressure do they have out there, right? So first, focus on your team. The second thing we need to then do is focus on our customers. These are the people already paying you money. That's the best place to go continue to get money. And it's also the best place to go get more money, which we'll talk about in the advanced piece in just a minute. Okay. So you need to talk to your customers and ask them, like, what do you need? We're doing this right now with our clients. Like, we're doing all kinds of stuff that's not part of the air quotes program, right? We're doing lots more one-on-ones. We're doing lots of deal reviews. We're sending text messages to check in with people almost every day in some places. It's just like, hey, what do you need in order to get through this situation, in order to help you move forward, in order to help you with that decision, right? The more you focus on your customers, the more confidence you're going to get, because you know you're helping those people and they're going to feel confidence knowing that you're out there looking out for them, right? And the third thing we need to focus on is our niche. Like, who do we best sell to? Instead of going wide, we don't want to go wide. Instead, this is the time to go even more narrow. I had a one-on-one call, a strategy session with one of our clients the other day, and they had a really simple graph that showed the number of countries where they had customers, and then they also had another axis was their product line. Their product is built so that as customers have success with one part of the product, then they move to another and another, and every time they move with the new part of the product, it's an upsell opportunity. And so, they had, one or two customers that were, clearly on the path and upselling. And then they had other countries where they had, like one or two customers working on the same baseline product. And they said, what should we do? I said, the first thing you need to do is cut that off. You don't need to sell to any more countries. You don't need to scatter yourself any further. You don't have to deal with more different kind of nuances around every single marketplace that you're selling into. Instead, what you need to do is, it's really simple. Let's make sure that these customers are happy and good and look for even more opportunities to sell to them. And like all your growth, even if you don't sell to any more customers, if all you do is focus like hell on those customers to make sure they get results, every time they get results, guess what? You have history that those clients are going to grow with you. Like you've got, for them, millions of dollars in revenue just sitting there, even if they don't have any new customers. So just focusing on that niche. In some cases, just focusing on your customers, but don't have this feeling like I gotta go wider. If I'm feeling scattered, then I gotta go sell to more. I gotta spray and pray. I gotta batch and blast. No, now's the time to focus. Okay. So focus on your team, focus on your customers, focus on your niche. Now let's talk about the advanced piece over here. So instead of being defensive, it's okay to, you can't just automatically go on attack. You got to figure out what's going on here. And now that you're resetting and figuring out what's going on based on that new information, based on that new environment, is where you then say, okay, let's pick our places to advance. And the three places we need to advance right now, number one is cash flow. That's one place. The second place is your active deals or your pipeline. You need to advance the deals of the pipeline we already have. And the third is we need to advance our outreach. And this is in that order, right? So by cash flow, what I'm referring to specifically, this is where you go back to your current customers. Let's secure those renewals. Let's secure those extensions. Let's make sure that we have them retained. Let's show them how we can help them even more. It's 8 times easier to keep a customer and grow a customer than it is to get a new one. So if we're scattered, we're like, okay, we have a couple customers, we got some customers, we got some revenue, we're doing a couple $1 million. Let's go find a bunch more because I'm afraid of what's going on. We got to go grow. Like, what's going to happen? While you're out here trying to get new, you might forget a little bit about what's back here, even with the best team and the best systems. So let's double back and focus our cash flow on our customers. Let's get the retention. Let's lock that retention in. Let's lock in the renewals. Let's start looking for resells and upsells, right? Just like this team down here. They don't have to go get 100 new customers this year. Like just focus in on the places where you've had success, and let's go grow just from there. So first place is your cash flow. The second is advancing your deals in your pipeline. You've already put in the work. You've gotten the leads in your pipeline. You've qualified those deals. You've probably done some product demos. You've got some levels of interest from some companies. Again, instead of like, okay, we got to get more leads. Like, no, let's just advance the opportunities that we have. Now, that does mean that you have to re-qualify those deals, because just like we saw 2 years ago, when things slow down, budgets may be shifting, initiatives may be slowing or moving out or put on hold. People might be moving around. That key person that was your product champion all of a sudden isn't there because they moved companies or they decided to step out of the workforce altogether. So just because you have a deal in the pipeline that you qualified back in February doesn't mean that that's still a qualified opportunity 2 months later. You got to go back and re-qualify them, make sure you know what's real and what's not. And once you know what's real, then focus like heck on those and get them over the line now. And for the other deals that are facing some trepidation, that's where you got to show some flexibility. Maybe it's offering a paid pilot as a starting point before you try to sell the whole thing. So requalifying your deals, looking for the now deals versus the later deals, right? In some cases with our clients, one of the things we're doing every day at this point, we're doing what we call daily deal reviews. So pretty much every day, I've been on the phone with a client going through active opportunities and breaking them down and looking to requalify, looking for action items, looking for gaps, so we can figure out who the now people and the later people are. You've got to do this yourself. Just don't assume that your salesperson's got it or that your salesperson's doing it. Like, as a founder, you got to do this and say, look, nothing personal. This is just about the process. We got to make sure that if we're going to advance sales, we got to figure out which of these deals are real, which ones aren't, which ones can we convert in the next couple months. Okay, so that's advance with your deals and your pipeline. And the third thing we've got to do is advance our outreach. And by advancing our outreach, what I'm talking about is going out to market. So if you've done a good job, let's remember, we're going to focus on a niche. We're going to find where we've had successful customers. We're going to find where our customers are willing to renew and extend and pay even more money to upsell and resell. We're going to look at where are the best deals in our pipeline right now, which kinds of companies, which kinds of deals are the ones that are moving forward despite the general uneasiness or uncertainty or anxiety out there. All of that is information. It's like bootstrapping a model. You have the data to say, this is the niche. These are the types of customers. These are the types of deals that we have a chance to convert. So let's laser focus our outreach. And let's make sure that when doing the outreach should be about them, not us, right? Too many people still, it just amazes me to this day when I get a cold outbound email in my inbox. Our product does this, our company does that. I would like to set up a 30-minute call to tell you what we do. Like, can we just stop doing that? But if you laser focus on your niche, on your customers, on the deals in your pipeline, and know which one of those are best able to take action now you know exactly where to do your outreach and you can advance and get more deals into the pipeline. It doesn't mean that you have to get 100 new sales opportunities, 100 new leads this month. Even if you're lasered focused, you get fewer leads but higher quality. Now you're spending time with people more likely to buy your product. This isn't about like, let's just book a bunch of demos and hope for the best. We're going to talk about hope in a second. Hope is not a strategy. Instead, it's based on data. This is the niche. These are our customers. These are the deals that we know we can sell to. Let's get those people into our sales funnel. I'd rather have 5 qualified leads than 50 bad ones, because then I got to sort through 50 to find the 5. I'd rather have 5 good ones knowing I'm going to convert 3 or 4 of them than have 50 and hope that I'm going to convert 1 or 2. Like, obviously this makes sense as I'm saying it, but many people like you are doing this. I'm not saying you're doing it. Maybe you're doing it the right way, but a lot of people are doing this the wrong way. So that's how you advance. Advance your cash flow, advance the deals you have, and advance your outreach. Okay. Now, finally, let's talk about this tendency to want to hope for the best. Like, I've done this myself, right? Yeah, you get into a little slump with your business, or you get in a slump with when I was doing ultras, I would get in a slump with my training. I'm like, maybe tomorrow is going to be a little better. Or I'll just kind of hope that the next run is better. Or now I'm training jujitsu. I'm like, God, things are really hard. I'm not getting what he's teaching. I kind of hope the next class is better. It has to be temporary. It's natural to feel that way, but ultimately what we have to do is figure out a way to go out and serve and sell. So for me personally, if I'm struggling in a jujitsu class, one of the best things that helps me is finding somebody that just maybe it's their first or second or third class. And I don't know a whole heck of a lot, but there's a couple things that I know. I can say, hey man, like, if you're in this situation, the reason I was able to flip you is because you were leaning forward. Just don't do that. I'm serving that person. By serving that person, it helps me get a better mindset about what's going on. And then I feel more confident to go out there and sell. So now that you're doing the advancing and you're going out and you're doing the outreach, let's focus on 3 things. Number 1, we need to communicate. Number 2, we need to educate. And number 3, we then need to navigate. Navigation, I mean, this is the reason I did the whole sales kit around buyer vampires, which again, you can get at salesquality.com/vampires, plural, vampires, plural, because a lot of times we have to navigate up into the organization, not just sell to the middle, which I'll talk about in a minute. So you go to salesquality.com/vampires, you can go grab that sales kit. So when we're talking about communication, right, then what we need to do, again, this is about focusing on your prospects, focusing on them. So as we're communicating with our prospects, let's ask them about their priorities. What's changed? What's different? How has it shifted, if anything? What are their objectives? What are their outcomes that they need to get to with their business now? Let's focus on them, not us. That's the form of communication, right? When it comes to education, now we understand their situation. Now we understand what their strategic priorities. Now we understand their objectives and the outcome. Then what we have to do is then align what we do to their outcomes, teach them how to get to that place, and then show them how we can be a partner with them. Align, teach, and show. That's education. And if we do those things correctly, then we've got a much better opportunity to serve. We are serving them, and we've got a better opportunity to sell to them. And finally, we're talking about navigating. This is where I talk about be a leader. Lead your prospects. Lead those middle of the organization people. If you're talking to Bob in IT and Rashid, the director of marketing, and Sally, the product manager, cool. Work with those people, but also lead them up the mountain. Sell to the top of the organization. Be a freaking CEO. Be a founder. Be a leader. Be a CEO and talk to your counterparts on the other side. Talk to executives. Because if you understand these priorities, objectives, and outcomes, these executives are the ones that are responsible for achieving them. By educating them, you're going to be able to align those interests and teach them and show them how you can get to the thing that they need to get to. Remember, you as a startup are the best option right now. If there's some unease, if there's some anxiety, if there's some uncertainty in the market, that's the time that your prospects need you now more than ever. I'm going to say that again. You, as a startup, as a small company, are the best option for your prospects and your customers to solve their problems. Do you want to know why? Because you are flexible, number one. If they need some kind of integration, guess what? You could probably turn that around in 2 days. If they go ask Microsoft or Oracle to do that, how long is it going to take for that to show up in the product roadmap? You can be fast. Yeah, I can meet today. I can meet tomorrow. Let's hop on another call, right? You don't have to wait 3 weeks for the product manager at big Fortune 500 company to be available to answer the product questions. No, let me get my co-founder right now. My co-founder can be available 2 o'clock today. You can be fast. You can be flexible. You can be fast. And most importantly, you are fierce. You know how to handle adversity. You started a startup. Let's face it, your whole life has been adversity, right? So you have this fierceness about you. So if you show that fierceness, you show that confidence, you show how fast and flexible you can be, you are going to be the best option to serve and sell to your prospects. Because if you don't do these things, if you're just hoping, right? If you hope that, oh, I'm gonna focus on product right now, I'm gonna double back, focus on the product and then come back and sell when people are ready. Or, hey, here's what we'll do, we'll launch a new product. Maybe that will be the thing that people will buy. Or, oh, you know what, let's just focus on marketing right now. Let's get lots of content out there and then hopes that some of those people will become leads. That's marketing, not selling. You need to sell first, market later. Or worse, you know what, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna hire the sales unicorn. We're gonna hire a salesperson to come in and help us navigate through this. I know it's gonna be expensive. I know it's a highly competitive environment, but I was introduced to this guy. I was introduced to this gal who told me that they've got 20 years of industry experience. They can just step right in and deal with the deals in the pipeline and get us new leads and use their Rolodex. And in the next couple months, we're going to get a bunch of deals and a bunch of revenue. And everything's going to be fine. Do you know why they call them a sales unicorn? Because they don't exist. They're fictional. It's imagination. It's a myth. That's why they're called the sales unicorn. They don't exist. Because even if you do find that stellar salesperson that's going to be able to step in and sell your product, you're selling to other companies. in an anxious, uneasy, uncertain environment. It's going to take 6 months, 9 months for you to see the effects of that person sourcing deals, converting those deals into opportunities, converting those opportunities into customers, converting those customers into revenue. It's going to take 6 or 9 months. Guess what? In 6 or 9 months, like 6 to 9 months from now, you're going to be all the way down here. And you're going to be hoping that that person you hired today is going to be able to like save you. It ain't going to happen. This is about you taking the action. When you're feeling action, or when you're feeling anxiety, that's the time to take action. Instead of anxiety, what I want you to do is take action. Focus on your team, your customers, your niche. Advance your cash flow, your deals, and your outreach. And then serve and sell by communicating, educating, and navigating. If you do these things, you will come out ahead. You will stay above the line. You won't be just riding it out and slowly drowning so that a year from now you have a gap that you can't make up. Instead, you're going to be evolving, expanding, and emerging. So when this next phase of the world is over, we just finished a 2-year phase, maybe we're going to be in another 2-year phase. If you do these things, you're going to be in a much better position to emerge out of this with growth, beat your competition, and most importantly, make the impact that you set out to make. So that's what I had to share. I think it's just more important to share this than a couple of, sales frameworks on how to, navigate the organization. Okay. So let me go back here just to wrap up. So covered a lot of ground. I was planning to do like a 10-minute LinkedIn Live today and just show a quick model and get you on your way. But the more I thought about it as I was preparing for today's live, the more I just felt like I had to get this out there. Again, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe it's just our clients. Maybe it's just the investors we talk to. Maybe it's just their customers and just their prospects. And maybe it's not anyone else. But I get a feeling it's more than just them. And I get a feeling if you're feeling this, it's definitely more than just you. So what I wanted to do is share with you exactly why you need to take action. Don't just try to ride this out. You've got to break the status quo fallacy and grow by evolving, expanding, and emerging. And then following through on that playbook I just laid out. When you're feeling anxious, take action. When you're feeling scattered, you need to focus. When you're feeling defensive, find ways to advance. And instead of hoping, take action to serve and sell. If you do those things, you're going to work out ahead. And then finally, if you want some help with this, as I said, we're running a session. This is the actual worksheet, the diagnostic we use with all of our clients. It's broken out by revenue level. So every revenue level that a startup is in, there's a different set of systems and strategies. And so this is the ideal time. If things haven't gone the way you want them to go so far this year, now's the time to reset and focus, figure out what exactly you need to do in order to grow out of this in the next 12 months. And if maybe you're one of those people, things are just going great and it's awesome, cool. Let's make sure you're doing the right stuff faster. Either way, you're going to step out ahead. So for every revenue level, we're going to do a diagnostic of each selling system to figure out if you're red, yellow, or green. Red is bad, yellow, green is like, no, we're fine. We do this with all of our clients. Our clients are going to be there in that session with you. So you're going to see exactly the same stuff that we teach our clients. And coming out of there, then you're going to have a specific plan of action to know what you and your team need to do over the next 3 months, the next 6 months, the next 12 months to get to that place and emerge out of this thing ahead. So if you want to join us, like I said, there's about 10 spots we're going to have available because this is a client event, clients first. We focus on them and we want to make sure everybody that joins us has personal attention. And the only way for us to do that is to make sure we keep this small enough so that when I'm there, our coaches are there, our team is there, that we have enough capacity to give everybody the personal attention that they want and they need in order to build this sales plan of action for you and your company. So if you want to join that session and request a spot, go to salesqualia.com. Just do this one more time. I'll just type it here on my screen, make it really easy. So salesqualia.com/roadmap. You go to that page, you'll see another video from me, a couple bullet points explaining what the session's about. I've already described for you all the details. Then you can click and reserve your spot. We're running the session twice for different time zones on different days because we have clients all over the world. clients in Europe, clients in Asia, clients in Australia, New Zealand, and of course here in North America. So there's different options. Regardless of where you are in the world, there's a time that fits. And if for some reason a time doesn't fit, set the alarm and either get up early or drink some coffee and stay up late. You don't want to miss the session. If you're able to join and we preview to join, then you're going to want to be there. So that's what I got. Kind of glad I did this. I feel a little better because I felt like if I don't share this out there and people are, sensing this and I'm not sharing it with them, then I will have been doing them a disservice. So that's it for now. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you at the roadmap session. And if you need some more help, send me a DM. If you're watching this on LinkedIn, shoot me an email, scott@salesqualia.com, and we'll do everything we can to help you. All right, that's it for now. Talk soon. See ya.